Boom! Sneak attack, everybody. Say, yeah, Jazz had gone really deep on the sneak attack. Very nice. Very nice. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Guest Quest, the TTRPG community interview show brought to you by the Gimme the Loot podcast, the TTRPG podcast, whose one of its cast members apparently gave acting lessons to Anthony Mackie, according to the most recent Twisted Metal trailer. Because my God, if I haven't seen not only just big Fate energy but big jazz energy in a single performance, it is that Mackie Twisted Metal performance. So tonight we are joined by Eric Silver of many projects, but very specifically the Join the Party podcast, the Games and Feelings podcast, Tell Me About It podcast, stage show, Star and Scream, other podcast production as the head of created at Multitude. Eric, how are you doing this evening?
I'm wonderful. It was really scary before that I felt like no one could see and hear me, and I felt like a ghost. And now I know what it's going to be like when I die. Really excited about that.
Oh yeah. Well, there are worse places you can go when you die than our show.
That's
not
true.
not many, but a few. Joining me tonight to speak with Eric are.
Hey, it's me, Jazz. I play Fate on the Give Me the Loot podcast. I'm back. I made
it. And I'm Anthony, who plays Babatunde on the Give Me the Loot podcast.
Have you been gone for a couple episodes, Jazz? I'm not.
What? I might have missed a few streams or something in the past. I'm here. That's the important part. Hey, everybody, how you doing?
I hadn't noticed. I'm sorry. My apologies. So what we didn't do backstage is Jazz, Anthony. I know it's just the two of you, but for shits and giggles, because it's the format, go ahead and roll initiative for me while I give.
I rolled a 6 already.
Ooh,
yeah. Who's on the job?
Let's see if Jazz can beat a 6. So the way that it works, Eric, is we go around in initiative order. The cast uses the action economy to ask a question using their action. If they have a follow-up, they can bonus action. If they want to ask a follow-up to somebody else's question, they use a reaction. If they suck and can't think of a question, they use the dodge action. They are welcome to pull questions from the chat as needed. And at the end, you are allowed to ask a question of the cast, should you so choose, that they are compelled to answer. So that is
Absolutely.
the overall format. So, Jez, what'd you get there on initiative?
I rolled a nat 1.
What?
Yeah, it's right over there.
The dice are telling a story tonight. They really want this to happen. I have my
natty
dice right here.
1. I almost wanted to lie about it, but
that's fine. Yeah, I think that rolling badly is important to the game. You can't always win.
But it feels so good when you do.
That's right. Everyone forgets that tabletop RPGs inherently is about making you forget about your problems and also just like wanting to have fun ultimately. So it's like, there's a really tough balance between, I'm here for art, I'm here for creativity, and then I'm not on my job, so I just need to. You're gonna have to make me have a good time. So that's gonna be hard.
Well, I'm pretty sure nat 1 means Anthony goes first. So there's that's one positive way to spend this.
As for your nat 1 was so hard, we lost.
If you win, see, this is always confusing. If you win,
initiative goes first. Yeah. Higher initiative goes first. What are we talking about?
But I thought we were rolling and try not to go first because we all want to go last in questions.
So no. So if you want to go last, then you want to roll low.
Jazz, your nat 1 was so bad that we lost the host of this stream. You turned when the nat 1 turned off his lights.
It was his personal like I saw the wheel spinning in his head. He was definitely thinking of a way to punish me for that nat 1 in some totally Turner characteristic way.
Back, asshole. What happened? What did I miss?
My nat 1 killed you.
Yeah.
There's never any consequences for killing your DM.
See.
It was like the nat 1s where like you miss the person you're trying to hit and you hit someone else.
I don't even know when I dipped out. My internet was like, "Hey man, you suck." I was like, "Oh shit." Where did you guys lose me?
Mostly
I
right
got the
after
higher
that one.
initiative, so I go first. That's
Oh wow, the whole friggin' intro then. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, you guys picked it up and ran with while I was gone, right? I can sit back for the rest of the show, right? We're good. No.
I'm hoping
yeah, we can ask questions.
my stream. I got it.
So no, what I'd thrown out there is join the party. Kind of
Yes.
starting there because I think that's probably well. Let's there's definitely some crossover with some of your other stuff that you do with what we do. But you guys are in your third campaign, pirate setting, plant and bug folk. Still doing 5e, or are you guys doing a different system for that?
Yeah, we're doing 5th edition. I mean, we started considering what we were going to do here kind of like last year before all the OGL stuff when we were still calling it race and no one really moved or anything. So there are a lot of choices that we wanted to make before we were going to wade back into 5th edition because we did a mini campaign in Monster of the Week set that was set at like a weird and wild summer camp, which was really fun. Lots of Gravity Falls vibes. And I missed something that, you know, everyone knew, but we're also using classes from Valda Spire of Secrets from Mage Hand Press. Those classes are absolute fire. And coming up with like, again, with traditions as kind of like the way for you to get, depending on the various countries from Vertistello, which is this world, this kind of like One Piece meets Redwall meets Plants vs. Zombies world that we're in. The traditions from those countries as being what kind of we use for species. I thought it made more sense because, you know, we have like 4 different types of green folk, like bug people and flora people and green people and oh, I'm missing one and I can't remember what it is, but the point doesn't matter. So it's been like fun to come up with a lot of stuff, use what you know, third party 5th edition is what's pushing the game forward right now. And we certainly saw how people felt about that in the beginning of this year. So it was really important to kind of do stuff with Mage Hand Press, who's absolutely incredible. And yeah, working that stuff out. I mean, it's also fun. I'm a game designer of my own. I made a GM-less game with my friend Misha Stanton called Clear Eyes, Full Hearts, which is where you want to play out a season of a sports anime or a sports drama. And it's really fun, and I love GM-less games. So there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes. So it's 5th edition, as you say, but you know, there's a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, and you're checking a lot of boxes with the cast, man, with the One Piece references and anime and Plants vs. Zombies is an interesting piece to click into there, and I'm intrigued about that. But Anthony, you're up.
So I was gonna ask something different until you said GM-less game. How does that work?
Oh, GM-less games are wonderful. They're great. Okay, so imagine this is the basic thing. I also love making up world building games because I don't know if you heard, but you're not supposed to use the quiet year as a jumping off point for your campaigns as much as some popular brothers might have popularized that because it's supposed to be ephemeral, right? It's just supposed to be a game. So it's kind of more like imagine you just have a table, right? You have a table of 20 questions and you all go around the room and you roll a d20 and you select one of those questions, right? And then whoever rolled, everyone gets to like answer that question. Like imagine this is an icebreaker game. It's like, hey, I'm gonna roll a d20 and we're after a question. What is your favorite smell? And then we're all gonna go around the room and do that. But we get to write down the answer to that question is like, well, our favorite smell that we've all decided what is the best smell, and it's cut grass, and we're gonna write that down. So it's like the game runs itself. You don't need a facilitator, and everyone is on equal footing. Is ultimately you can think about it the most when you think about like world building games where you're creating something. But it's similarly, you just kind of like create the session. You just kind of do it. You don't need a facilitator like the DM. It's a lot of fun. GM-less games are the best.
Yeah, the one that we've kind of got on deck that I haven't really dove into with you guys. There's a game called The Skeletons, which is kind of the similar situation where you pick an archetype of what undead guardian you are, and then you start to fill in your backstory basically as you hang out and guard this tomb against adventurers, and it's more just about kind of filling in the background. A Quiet Year is great, and the Adventure Zone actually I think cribbed that from Friends at the Table. Even I think they're not even the ones that
Austin Walker had his hand doing a lot of stuff in there that it was almost felt like something different. I remember those episodes. That was wild. But yeah, I mean, That's like my one tabletop RPG thing is like, it's supposed to be about ephemera. Like, don't do that. Yeah, but GMless games, they're super fun. The Fall of Magic is a really fun one. It's more about like, or if you've ever played like a board game that's like that where it's cooperative, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Jizz.
Wait, what?
I also heard that. I'm with you.
I was just trying to float that out there to see if I could see it. Jazz.
Don't answer to it. Don't answer to it.
No. I don't know if he was hung up with that or if he was hung up with the fact that the board games could be cooperative, because we survive on a toxic level of competition amongst the cast. Yeah, so it's
y'all gotta play Betrayal on the House of the Hill.
Oh yeah, I got it.
That's the good balance between the two.
Yeah.
So, not to just completely jump rail to a different set of questions, but this has been the main thing I've been wanting to ask you since I started kind of looking into on the Tell Me All About It. I gotta know, what was it about the movie musical Grease that makes it the baseline of level of interesting or entertaining?
Yeah. Tell Me About It's really fun. Being able to come up with, so my main job is I'm the head of creative at Multitude, which means that I'm like coming up with shows. I produce 7 episodes of a podcast every 2 weeks. It's a lot of fun. I love making this stuff because Join the Party is weekly. Tell Me About It is bi-weekly. Games and Feelings is weekly. And I also produce a sports show for Defector, which is the incredible sports outlet. It's worker owned, cooperative, the people who kind of broke away from Deadspin, if you know that story. So it's been wonderful working with them, and I love it. So all the words that come out from Multitude, which podcast collective, studio, and ad sales provider, kind of runs through me. So coming up with this stuff is really fun. I've been wanting to work with Adil Rafai for a very long time, who is this legendary podcaster and improver out of Chicago. You might know him from Hey Riddle or Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Okay.
So he loves Grease. It's his favorite movie, and kind of reverse engineering from that was like, I wanted to do. Do you know about? Have you heard of Taskmaster, the show? It's from the UK, super popular. It has this one really tall guy. You might have seen clips on YouTube or going around on YouTube Reels or TikTok. Basically, it's kind of like those UK panel shows where it's like kind of a game show, but not really. Basically, like the Taskmaster makes comedians do stuff, and they're trying to do it in the most creative way, and they get points. And then blah, blah, blah. It's really fun, and people get to make jokes the entire time. I was trying to make a podcast version of that where people, yes, a lot there. The Taskmaster fans are really into it. I love Taskmaster. I've listened a lot. I've watched like so many of the seasons. People in the chat are super into Taskmaster. I've been trying to make a podcast version of it, but I wanted to like make it podcast. Like it was kind of like building off of this specific genre of the British panel show where people just like talk about stuff, right? And in podcasting, they do the same thing. They just talk about stuff. They make jokes, but the linchpin is always on podcasts, people talking about things they love, right? That's for sure. I think the best podcasts have to do with people talking about the things they love. And the thing, so I realized we were going to do this like billionaire setup, which is like a billionaire invites people over their house to talk about their favorite things. And I'm going to be this like butler, this like audio butler servant, and also show run the thing and co-host it. And that's where it stemmed from, is like people coming on talking about their favorite things. And then then there's like mini games and all this stuff surrounding it. And the whole thing was like Adil as a person, but also as this billionaire loves Grease. The musical. And it's just like there's a lot of trivia questions about Grease. Every single episode ends with a trivia question about Grease, and I have like 50 of them, and it's really fun just to be like, and for one bonus point, tell me all of the names of the friends from Grease? And they're like, I don't know, and they never get the point.
It's Monica, it's Chandler, it's Joey. No.
Sorry, those are all the women from Mambo Number 5.
There you go. That's absolutely correct. You're absolutely right.
I only know that because my mom's name is Rita, and that's one of the names of the women in there. And I'm like, man, deep cut, Lou Bega, deep cut.
So, pivoting to games and feelings, it's an advice podcast,
Yes.
and is you're covering all different types of games there, right? It's not just TTRPGs; it's all the way across the board.
Yeah.
So, what linked games and the broad spectrum of games and advice in your mind when you went into that one? What's kind of the origin point for that show?
Yeah, absolutely. See, I know I can go deep on you because you also pointed out Austin Butler was the first. That's where they got the Adventure Zone doing the Quiet Year from, and I would say the same thing to Austin Butler to his face, not just Lavin the McElroy say it. So I was actually kind of inspired by where when Dungeon Court started getting popular on not on a D&D podcast, they realized making a weekly podcast was actual play podcast was really hard, and they started doing a talking podcast and I loved these questions. The questions they kept asking though were really crunchy, and this is the people who kept writing in, is being like, hey, make a ruling on this very specific tabletop RPG thing, and they were doing the comedy podcast thing where they make a lot of jokes and then someone dies of pooping themselves too hard, and then they move on, right? But like, then how many questions that you've seen like on Reddit, or how many stories have you heard from your friends being like, yeah, game night devolved into a really bad time because it's like something bad is always happening.
Yeah.
My wife Amanda also loves advice columns, and she listens to a lot of advice podcasts. So she was the one who was like, advice podcast should exist, but about games, like about video games, about board games, about tabletop games, and also bringing people into sports and escape rooms and all this other stuff that was going on. Especially this was like when people were remembering to like be people in 2021 and like remembering that like people bump into each other a little bit. So it was just a lot of fun getting people, because like we always get really, really interesting questions, and it's always from the people who care about games, and the people who care about feelings are people who actually have issues and like things they want to deal with. Hi Tori, do you want to talk about Taskmaster?
Yeah, when you make a reference so powerful, it draws a cast member in to the show. So
the summoning circle was slowly built by Taskmaster, then Mambo number 5, then Pod's D&D court, and it was just like getting too powerful.
Tori, we know this.
Like
I need
shaking
people
cat treats at the back door, man.
I need people who know the same references as me. I am like this wild Venn diagram. If you also care about like what's going on in NBA Summer League, we might be best friends.
We would need Harlan.
Yeah, you need Harlan here for that.
If there was ever a show for Harlan to miss, somebody that was sports podcast adjacent, because I got one sport I follow, that is Matthew McConaughey's appearances at the Austin FC games.
Fair.
No, it's Cowboys football. That's the one sport that I follow. Although
we're gonna make our way back to that.
They're
Can
pushing.
I tell you
one of the
episodes that tell me about it is about the Dallas Cowboys. Jeffrey Craner of Welcome to Night Vale came on to talk about the Cowboys. It was sick.
Are you guys trying to banish me now? Is that
No. We were reaction to the guest statement about sport. So you're slotting into the initiative order then, Tori. What
I rolled a 15.
Okay, well then back to the top of the order.
That's you.
Yeah, basically the point was it was just fun. The advice podcast is a staple of podcasting, and it was nice balancing the actual comedy with actual good advice, and the people who care about games and have feelings about them like might actually need advice, because I think games is something that's very prickly. Again, I love looking at like whatever question is blowing up in our relationships or our D&D, where someone's like, my stepdad joined and he's really making me look bad as a DM. He keeps calling me stupid and I don't like that. And like, those are real questions, and people have less dramatic versions of the questions, but they also need game recs, and it's very fun to do it. And also being able to have Jasper Cartwright hang out with me every week. And my wife coming on, and my wife Amanda coming on and every week is just like podcast. It's like, as an adult, as a 32-year-old, you need to have a podcast to have friends. So I'm really excited to hang out with Jasper all the time.
No, I mean, it can be hard to get, people to take advice, and wrapping it up in game context is, it's like wrapping some American cheese around the pill you give your dog. It is a way to slip in that worthwhile, heartfelt advice into that pill. Tori?
Oh man.
Did you think I would not immediately throw to you? You had to know I would immediately immediately throw you under the bus.
What?
All right, let me bail
Gee,
Tori out real quick
no.
with the reaction. Nope, you got it. Okay.
I thought you were gonna take my question that I gave you to ask in proxy.
No, I'm not gonna do that to you. I was gonna bail you out so you can prep a
Okay,
little bit
okay.
more. I just wanted because we just kind of touched it. So as I was doing some of my prep work, my oldest son happened to ask like what we were who we were going to be talking to on stream tonight, and so I was telling him about Eric, and then he was like, my son is kind of goofy. He has this one question whenever I'm talking to anybody new. He likes to ask me where were they on January 6th, and it just so happened that I saw specifically that Eric was interviewing with Jasper on January 6th, and I was like, he's good, we're clear. And so I saw that immediately, and I was like, you know what? Jalen's going to approve, so we're good to go here. So
Can I tell you guys, they don't let Jews hang out at January 6th. I wasn't there.
What?
Somebody's got to man the space laser. I mean, what are you gonna do?
I know. Yeah, I got to keep Marjorie Green in check. I got to keep
Oh,
that
man.
laser on her.
The best news I saw this week is they kicked her out of the Freedom Caucus, and they're like, "Yeah, no,
that's so great."
That bitch is crazy, man." And I'm like, really, wow. Oof.
Took you guys this long to figure it out.
New low.
All right, that's all I got. Tori.
Okay.
That was more of a statement, Jazz, but I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to use my initiative order to say that Eric was fine on January 6th.
We know he's an ally.
Hey, look, one of the reasons why we're doing less guest quests is because we don't run background checks on everybody. And there's been a couple of that we were like, okay, we're going to really have somebody that is either referred through our network of people that we trust, aka the 3BH crew, or is somebody that is very, very, very famous, and we don't give a shit how much of an asshole they are. So which
one was me? Which one was I?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, man. Just take the compliment and roll with it.
I thought you've been hearing my campaign that I'm the best DM in podcasting, and that's what brought me on to this. And that's finally we have a bunch of people getting me on a stream to just kind of jump me
SEO.
and figure this out.
Yeah, no,
I saw that in a couple spots, so that you've really got that SEO nailed down on the. Yeah,
that's awesome, and I'm very happy about that. Thank you, Tori. Tori, you've given me so much joy in the limited time you've been on screen. Thank you.
that's my job.
Now she's just gonna log off. Like, peace out, Tori out.
Bye.
Ask your question.
I'm gonna ask it. I would like to know. I'm seeing the little sport ball flaggy things on your wall. I saw the little Pokemon plushies. I want to know about what you collect.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we have a bunch of these pennants back here. I just love pennants. I think they're really cool. And it's just like, this is the office library area here. So I have a ton of stuff just like in my immediate locale. Here's Mamoswine, who I love. I love Pokemon. Mamoswine is one of my faves. Let's see. Oh, I got this. My favorite video game is Welcome to the Gungeon, or Enter the Gungeon, and I got this hat when I was at PAX. I was at PAX East. I have like over 500 hours probably. And Enter the Gungeon, incredible like arcade shooter, roguelike, which I love to death. Here's Kirby. Poi, he's always Poyo over here. My favorite, actually, my friend got me this for Christmas. Here's my DK tie, and of course I have DK the plushie. And here's the box for the Nintendo Switch N64 controller that I have. I also really love just like old like N64 GameCube era Nintendo stuff. The GameCube was my first thing. I have it in like the other room. I wish I could like take my camera and bring you. But I collect like a lot of like vintage like 90s early 2000s Nintendo stuff. I just love the GameCube. The GameCube is probably my favorite console just in terms of the aesthetics. I love the color. That orange, that spice is one of my favorite stuff. I also love Pokemon. I also love arcade games. I don't know if I can see if I can get my thing all the way over. I have a Galaga tattoo. So I love Galaga, and I also Pac-Man. Like the Galaga Pac-Man combo is like one of my favorite things in existence. I can spend hours just feeding quarters into that thing, and that's just like without getting up. Like this is all that I have like available to me.
Yeah, you gotta have the totems within reach, man. You know, I was
Oh.
gonna let you slide with the your best GM in podcasting thing, but you calling the '90s vintage, I'm totally
No.
slashing your
I
tires.
wasn't. No, I meant like
You
not
checked your
NES.
swing on it. You
No,
said
not.
90s
I
vintage.
meant not NES, SNES stuff.
No, you're fine.
Yeah,
I'm-
I also have
I'm
all
old.
12
I'm
of the Dining and Dungeon manga. I
Mm.
bought all of it on
Is
Amazon.
that Delicious in Dungeons?
Yes, Delicious in Dungeon. Thank you. I heard about it for a really long time.
I am
on the anime-
reading it right now.
Oh, where
Dude,
where
we're
are you?
best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
hilarious.
There's some like we'll talk
Like,
offline
we
about
we
things
can
like
go
that.
now, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right?
we can
Just
sim
leave
nerd
it
out
you guys.
for
See
the
you
next
guys later.
hour.
Mission accomplished.
But no, I mean like the see-through, the atomic see-through. I would just to address the previous vintage thing, like the atomic see-through color is like my heart inside, and I just love that stuff. I have a bunch of N64 controllers on like a stand in the other room.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I believe we're back around to Anthony in the order.
Oh wait, can
'cause
I? Oh wait, do I ask a question?
You typically go at the end, but you can ask a question anytime you want. You're the
Oh,
guest here.
Wonderful.
So
I would
you
love
go.
to ask a question. Okay. So if you had a swimming pool and you could fill it with any liquid, what liquid would you fill it with?
Jazz.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I can give you some suggestions. I've used this at multitude, like
There
all
has
hands
to be
meetings.
what is liquid?
It could be anything.
That is the most Tory follow-up in the Tory of
No,
Tories.
that's fair. It can be
Yeah.
like a gelatin or a jello or a jelly. That also thinks it just can't. You have to be
Sim-
able to
sim-
jump into it
yeah.
like Scrooge McDuck.
Semi-solids. Any
Yeah,
semi-solid
semi-solids
work,
also
yeah.
count.
Non-Newtonian liquids, no good. You'll smack right into it when you try and
Exactly. I said chicken soup. I think that it would be fun to swim in it and also like eat some matzo balls while you're doing it. I had some
Mhm.
other people suggest ramen broth for a similar reason. And yes, the jello and jelly is very popular as well.
I'm going with cranberry juice because eventually I can just dump a bunch of vodka into it and turn it into what's the name of that cocktail now? I'm blanking out. Whatever. We all know what I'm talking about.
First of all, it's a Cape Cod.
Cape Cod.
Secondly, you've got it reversed because the cranberry juice will spoil. That's why you go with the booze, like just a big tub of bourbon. You just got to go a big tub of bourbon.
That's fair. That's
And
fair.
then the top layer with the bugs in it will evaporate off and or disinfect the bugs, and and then you just add whatever mixture that you want.
And you can set the top on fire, and that'd be fun.
Ooh,
Burn
That
off
is
all the
also
bugs that way.
that would be fun. That's
interesting.
cool.
And for those of you who listened to the podcast intro this week and wondered why we keep making the insinuation that Tori might be a serial killer because she's at a different time every time that we speak to her, location number 15, and it's dimly lit. So there is like a half dead housewife somewhere that she's like got a knife stuck in. She's like, God damn it, hold on. I will be back. You do not bleed out till I get back. You're talking about obscure banger references.
They were talking about Mambo number 5. This is gonna be great.
I have a little bit of Monica in my life. Get out of the way.
She might have a little bit of Monica in her teeth at this point. We're not sure if it's cannibalism.
I think at this point she's probably got a little less Monica in her life.
Yeah, a little bit less.
Imagine there was like you said this coming this summer.
The serial killer that just kills people like in the order of the names in Mambo number 5, and that's the
love it.
connection. But then it goes into I don't know how familiar anybody else is with Lou Bega's discography. I got a girl in Paris, I got a girl in Rome, I even got a girl in the Vatican Dome. There's like a whole other song about ladies.
Oh no.
Go into-
Now you're traveling the world killing people like Carmen Sandiego.
yeah.
To the
Killer
Vegas
number
town?
5. I
But see, this right. So it's everybody who's watched Mrs. Davis. Show of hands. As you know, Mrs. Davis on Peacock. Nobody.
Nope.
One of the
Just
I
best.
don't own Peacock. No.
One of the best it's worth it just to pick up another terrible streaming service. One of the best third act twists in the history of television. That would be how you would play the Mambo number 5. You wouldn't let anybody know that it was based on that song until about the third act, a third of the way through the shit. Like, wait a minute, is this a fucking serial killer drama based on Mambo number 5? At which point, 90-degree angle for the rest of the season. Anthony?
Man, I can't believe everything's based on IP now. You got it has to be based on IP to get
Oh
in.
my god.
It would take a lot for me to recommend another streaming service. Mrs. Davis, limited series, one season. It's about a nun sent on the quest to find the Holy Grail to kill Alexa. That's the
Oh,
elevator
that's cool.
pitch for it.
That is right up my alley.
so-
Yep, write it
Oh,
down.
All right.
So, am I filling my pool or answering a question or
Yes,
asking a
both.
question?
6 of one, half a
Oh,
dozen
okay.
of the other.
Man, like because of my diabetes, anything I want to fill the pool with would probably kill me.
So,
In
so
that
insulin.
quantity,
So insulin. The answer is insulin.
I would also
in
kill
that
him
quantity,
too
that would
much.
also kill me.
you don't drink it.
You
That's
just
what everybody else is
absorb it
doing with
through
their
your
pool
skin.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have terrible lives.
I don't know, some kind of pudding, banana.
That's good. Pudding's
Yeah.
strong. Pudding's strong.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
but is it like a chocolate pudding or like
Yeah.
a rice pudding?
But counterpoint, pudding doesn't towel off easy. So there's a
Right?
hose down situation afterwards. There, you got to get like one of those sticks that you drive horses off with and shit.
Am I
Um,
required to swim in it, or do I just have a pool of it?
No, you have to swim in it
Yeah.
once, but you
Yeah,
can
you
like shower afterwards.
you're drowning. Like, how do you? There's too thick to swim through. You're done for, sir.
You know what? You just let me die in my pudding then. All right. Don't judge me. Answer the question.
He died the way he lived.
Covered in pudding.
Covered.
So
we
Eric,
kept throwing in vanilla wafers, but it was the wrong kind.
But imagine busting through like Free Willy, the crust of vanilla wafers or like the pudding skin. It's so dramatic.
Oh god.
oh, this is what happened to this interview?
It's okay. By the end, you can just say that I'm the best guest you've had on. As
You
long as
could-
you say that, it's
when
fine.
you
I'll keep
knew-
his energy up.
When he elementally summoned Torian, that was the harbinger of like, wait, are those some horse locusts that just crested over the horizon?
Sorry,
I'm
hold on.
pretty sure.
I have some somatic components I have to address. Give me a second.
I have this pearl
Oh,
worth
man.
500 gold I have to burn.
I just want everyone to know I was in the middle of creating an Excel sheet character keeper for an RPG.
Hell yeah.
What I
No.
stopped doing.
Nah, Tori, we're gonna be good friends. It's good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's awesome.
Also Orbeez.
Oh, Arby's is good.
Orbeez
No.
would be a good one, yeah.
Boba.
Yeah.
Orbeez is
Oh,
so good.
boba, also a very good answer.
Boba.
yeah.
I think you can do boba and then like just fill the cracks in with the bubble tea.
Mm.
Because
Mhm.
that's certainly acceptable. That's a good
Yeah.
choice. Someone also said that. That's a good choice.
Like a
Cool.
mix with like the lychee. Like I want all the different little scoopy options, all of them.
You go really dense tapioca too. You could go like a really dense tapioca.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not sure where everyone lives, but like I'm also to address the question. I also like collect good feelings of being in upstate New York. I love upstate New York. I'm here in Brooklyn, but that's like where I grew up and where I like to spend a lot of my time. Shout out to Wegmans, the best grocery store chain that's out there. Recently we went. I saw there was a non-dairy boba tea mix that you could just buy there, and
Oh,
with
nice.
like three different flavors. So shout out to Wegmans.
Yeah, we're all in Texas. Different
Oh.
parts. Yeah.
Oh, well, y'all have HEB. You're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got HEB.
Not all of us.
Don't have
Oh.
rice.
Really? You guys don't have
Womp
HEB?
womp.
Oh,
No
They're-
HEB
we're
for
just now getting it.
Anthony.
We're just now getting them
Boo.
closer to me, but like the closest one are like at least like 40 minutes away from me.
Oh man, I thought they were like around like Kroger or one of those. I apologize.
No,
I didn't mean to
no,
talk
no,
so
they-
offhandedly.
They were really big in South Texas, and
Mm.
then they're just now moving the way up to like Central and North Texas.
Oh, okay. Oh, then I have a Texas question for everyone then.
Mhm.
Hey, if outside of Texas, how popular do you think the kolache is?
I was going to ask you a question about it. We were all going to ask
Okay,
you a
we
question
were.
about it. We were all going to do this.
In Czechoslovakia, really popular.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
for sure. In the United States, in
the
every other
rest
state
of
other
the
than
US,
Texas.
probably not so much. Yeah.
We weren't
Uh.
taught to think in the context of outside of Texas.
Yeah, no, outside of Texas isn't a real place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the record, I grew up in the other really shitty southern state, Florida. Moved to Texas, moved back to Florida, moved back to Texas. So do
Okay, so this
have
might be the perfect question for you.
Yeah,
Which do you
yeah.
think is more popular throughout the United States, the kolache or a knish?
well, probably a knish.
Probably
I think
knish.
probably just
don't-
mainly
I
because
don't even know what a
no,
knish
see,
is.
I don't know.
I
what that
well,
is.
and
Okay.
I'll tell you why it wins. The knish has migrated down the East Coast. Like
Yeah,
that's why I've got deli experience having grown up in the South. Like Florida has got great delis because of the New
Yep.
York migration. We are getting West Coast, California's moving to top. So we are getting
Yes.
the opposite effect, but it's all California people moving to Austin. The migration of the kolache out of the state really hasn't happened yet, although
Sure.
it's only a matter of time. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that I have got a list of meat stuffed types of dough from around the world that I have had stuck in the back of my head. Like, when I eventually create my combination gaming store / food truck, this is what we're going to serve.
No,
meat
I
wrapped
respect
in
it, for
dough.
sure.
And it is a universal concept. But the kolache or the kablachnik, the one that actually with the meat, which is actually the more popular too, not actually a kolache, fucking ironically.
Right.
I know more about this than I should, is my point. They're good though. I had one for breakfast.
So many
So they
moons
just don't follow
ago.
picking the blankets everywhere else. Nobody. They don't.
No,
they
no,
don't-
no.
Not the same
'cause
thing.
everywhere?
Not the same thing.
I was in Tennessee.
Crescent roll
and-
versus yeast roll.
Went to a donut store and got in there and I was like, oh, you guys have pig in the blankets. And immediately the person that owned the place was like, you're from Texas. And we sat there bonding over our love of pig in the blanket / kolaches for like the next 20 minutes. And then they gave me a discount on the 3 that I bought. It was a good
Hell
day.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that being said, which one do you think is better? And there's only one right answer here.
They are very different.
Mm.
The thing is, for those of you who don't know, a knish is more of like a side. It is more, and it's potato based. Usually, it doesn't have the meat inside. It's just kind of like wrapped. It's kind of like a little thing. It's from Jewish deli culture out of New York, spreading from that area. You would get like a knish as a side if you also got like a pastrami sandwich, for example. But also I've bought them and eaten them just cold because I just really like them. And sometimes they're usually filled with potato. Sometimes they're filled with like some sort of like grain mix. I've had a spinach knish before. I have had meat knishes before, but it's not like the main thing. And it's usually like ground meat instead.
Potato's the most common. Yeah.
Potato. So yeah, it's like it's like baked. It's not the same. So a kolache, like the first time that I ever had a breakfast taco, which I only had the first time that I went to Texas, which was in my adult life, I was like, my mind is blown. I love this. This is incredible. But the regionalism of everything is all very different. Like, but I would rather have a kolache. Like, you can just give me one and I'd eat it as like, oh, and on the go snack. You can't just like eat a knish on the go.
Yeah.
It's like this big, and you have to eat it in bites, and it's supposed to be hot, and you're supposed to eat it with a knife and fork. Totally different. Which
is why it's the perfect like food choice at a gaming store / restaurant / bar.
It's like in the imagine the continuum of like empanada is in the middle, like kolache, knish, like, but it's not fried, it's baked and it's potatoey.
Empanadas. Let's see. I had to pull up my list here. No, we're not going to go down that wormhole.
Dumpling, shumai, knedlach,
samosas,
momos, samosas. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Hell yeah.
Samosas are great.
Pierogies, pierogies, all day long with pierogies. I don't even know where the hell we're at in initiative order. Tori, ask a question.
That's definitely not where we are.
Okay.
I think Anthony needs to ask this question.
Oh, you have never asked it. Okay.
Oh
no,
I
never
fault.
asked the question.
I cut in line. My fault.
Yeah, there we go.
So I was going to say, as someone who is unfamiliar with like your multitude of podcasts, where yes, I did it on purpose. Like, where would you suggest someone start? Like, which is an intro to you and kind of your network and all that? Where would be a good place to start?
If you are a podcaster we have a ton of free resources on the Multitude website, which is multitude.productions/resources. We started at Multitude as a group of podcasts together, just when we're like, hey, none of us know how to do, we want to do this full time. We haven't figured out how to do it. Let's tour together. Let's have a name together. Let's be under the same umbrella, recommend each other. And then we started writing articles, helping people make podcasts, because this was the Wild West. No one taught us how to do this. We kind of I don't know how old everyone is, but like I graduated college in 2013. And I thought that there were going to be jobs for me after this, because I really wanted to be part of like that blogging sphere. I don't know, like that's when Gawker was really big, and Deadspin, and like the blogs were really starting to come. And then like right after I graduated, they're like, there's never been any jobs. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. And then after that, I missed the cutoff for like when, and then podcasts got really big with like Serial and Startup in like 2016, and or like near there. 2015, 2016, I was a teacher at the time. I got my master's degree, and I was a high school English teacher out in deep Brooklyn. And I was listening to podcasts, and I loved it. But no one would teach me, because there was like there was nowhere to learn. And I feel like and then that's also when like there was this dearth of time when anyone had jobs in the internet. That's why everyone had like, it was like everyone who worked at BuzzFeed, and then there's like a break of time, and now everyone on TikTok. Right. And it's just like there's this wasteland of creators who didn't have opportunities, and podcasting seemed like one that all these people came together. We wrote a lot of free resources. So if you're a content creator, especially podcasting, but any content creator, we have a lot of resources for free that you can just hop on there. And we also have like a really cheap starter kit if you want to get started podcasting, that you get the expertise from Multitude.
Cool.
Join the Party is a really good podcast. It's I've been thinking about it a lot, especially just like as the actual play art form genre has risen and fallen and developed and grown so much since we started the show in 2016. Like, for God's sakes, a show called Not Another D&D Podcast started in 2018.
Yeah.
Like it's like it matured so fast, and now we are here in 2023 where we're at the point that so many digital media has, where like you need to live in LA and have a set to be successful, right? And we've been talking, and I've been thinking about it so much as an art form, and we really like making the show, the actual play genre, sing with sound design and character choices, and I've been doing a lot of game design and really pushing myself to do things in an actual play podcast that haven't been seen ever before. I love the form. I love doing this, and Join the Party is really fun. Campaign 3 is it's been fun returning to a fantasy setting. Fantasy setting was campaign 1, and then campaign 2 was a superhero story set in upstate New York, and then the mini campaign of Monster of the Week, which is kind of like, you know, X-Files-y and Gravity Falls-y. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a world again. I'm going to do it. I'm ready to do it again, and throwing myself into this pirate thing, this genre that I'm super excited about, and being, I don't know, feeling mature at least a little. Like, I have 5 years of doing Join the Party under my belt, and I'm also the best DM in podcasting. It's a lot of fun, and I'm doing stuff that like I'm really excited about. My players are kicking ass. They've never been better. The sound design, and we made we made a sea shanty as our theme song. We wrote a sea shanty. Brandon, who is a player and edits the show, he also went to school and does music, and I wrote the lyrics for the sea shanty. It is awesome, and we're putting all of our work into making the best actual play podcast possible, because like we respect the art form. And it's been a lot of fun just like thinking about that. I have a whole thing, and I can totally go in that direction, but like we're just trying to like hone the art form, or at least I am trying to hone the art form as a student of this right from the jump. I mean, we were all galvanized by the Adventure Zone or Critical Role, depending on one of those two things. Like, and now we're in a totally different place, and now like we're making art in that wake, and I respect it. And I love it.
Awesome.
Cool. Jazz,
I already asked my question.
you already asked yours. Tori, I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's my fault. Like I said, I threw it all off, but yeah.
I agree that it is your fault, Jazz. Congratulations.
I'll take it this time.
Do you want me to ask another question? Will that
No,
help everyone?
no, Tori, don't let her off the hook like that.
Let's say this is on brand for Eric's love of putting resources into the world. How's my sound right now? Because I really just jumped on with my laptop in the living room. It's an
Wow,
open
you sound
space.
good. I think about this a lot, actually. If we could just nerd out about audio for a second. I mean,
Mhm.
a USB, like, y'all don't buy Blue Yetis. They're expensive and they're not that good. There are much better USB microphones out there. I know they keep recommending it because no one takes podcasting seriously. And
Yeah.
it's like, ha ha ha, buy the podcasting microphone. Ha ha ha. Don't do it. And y'all have wonderful setups, but it's like just a USB microphone that's actually good. I can't forget. It's like the SMB.
Yep, it's the yeah. There's the SMB Shure, which is a
That's
little
the
bit more
one the
expensive.
Shores
Yeah,
I recommend. Those are the
yeah.
best. And
We
also, like, we've also downgraded our sound, because like the more that we're doing remote recordings ever since 2020 happened. A funny story, Brandon moved to LA February 2020 and taught us all how to remote record like in the weeks before, so that was a
Yeah.
wild moment. But we used to have this like really crazy setup at the Multitude Studio, but now we have Motu M6s and I have an M2 right now. It is so much easier and so much clearer, just like bing bang boom, plugging things in. Because like
Yeah.
the way Zoom and Google Meet and all of these streaming and OBS have so much like goddamn software that get in the way of your hardware, and you just need something that's clean. So you sound great, and honestly, more often than not, you just want something that will make you sound like your leveling is way more important than like having the most expensive microphone.
Yeah, we use mostly either the ATRIs or the Samson Dynamics. Basically, that's all. I use I got a condenser that I use for actual show audio, but that's just because I'm in a tiny little space and have the extra noise protection typically. So, but Jariah,
Switch to this thing just now as I grabbed it from the corner. I was on just MacBook microphone.
went sliding around in a pool of blood, made it through the corner, and then we're able to hop on the channel. So, well, cool, man. Jess.
Oh, damn it. I had a question and then got distracted by Jariah. So, I will go actually ask this then. What has been, and this is, I feel like it's a kind of a generic question. Sorry, it's been a kind of a generic question to ask, but I always like asking it just to kind of get a better sense of the people we're interviewing. In D&D, what is your favorite class to play?
Oh, great question. My favorite class is the monk. I think that the monk has a really interesting mechanic, and I think that like a lot of things that come out of the players that come out of like the straight up the book, you got to just separate it from the weird thing that it came from, and you got to let it loose. Like if you are stuck like having like Asian pastiches on your monks, like you got to just think bigger. That thing is a superhero. You use points and you do interesting stuff and you just go do it. I made a subclass for campaign 2. One of my players switched and became a monk of the stretching. So I used key points for being able to stretch her arms and like do Mr. Fantastic Plastic Man type stuff. But like the trigger of using points to do extraordinary stuff.
Yeah.
I really, really love it. So the monk is my favorite. I think just a tip for all you DMs out there, remember your NPCs don't need to have anything to do with the classes. I think that's the question I get asked the most by my players, and also by like just we have after parties, which is where like every 3 episodes we have an episode where we talk about what we've done. People write in questions. They're like, oh man, what was this NPC based on? What class was it based on? I was like, oh, it wasn't. I just had an ability and then I threw some numbers together. Like remembering you're untethered from classes, and you can make a humanoid who is untethered. Like it doesn't have to be a monster. Just like take an ability you think is tight and then spin it out and build the thing around it. So the answer is usually like none, because I love making NPCs and not caring about classes. But I don't think anyone should play bards. I think it's is actually my really hot take.
Really? What
reaction? Why?
I think that so. First of all, the bard has one of the most interesting game mechanic as the inspiration dot. I think it's awesome, but it's wild that it's tied to the Mary Sue of Dungeons and Dragons, of tabletop RPGs, which is, oh, I'm so interesting and cool and smart that I'm going to be able to do whatever I want, and my charisma stat is so high. We're already creative people here. you don't need to be the guy who's also super good at guitar. Like, you don't need creativity, isn't just magic. You can just have regular magic. We're all playing pretend. You don't need to be your characters doesn't have to be the coolest kid in school. And I think it's just like the most self-insert that restricts you from like having an experience doing something else because you're too busy. Like, we all know the horny bard meme, but I think that the extension of that is like, well, me nerd, my charisma's +5, so you have to do what I say. And that's like where the weirdness of relationships kind of get crazy. Because I mean, for warlocks, at least it's like, well, my charisma turns into literal magic. And then it's expressed as such. I think that the bard is like stuck in this necessity of being the face, and I think it's a little bit too like self-referential for the people for those big fucking nerds who made the game in 1975.
Yeah, it's the origins of the bard when you get into what they took to get there in first edition is really bonkers. And I think there's some interesting bard subclasses now.
Oh yeah.
But the traditional tra-la-la-la-la Alan Dale bard, I have 0.0 interest in playing. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think
Zork Fox in the chat also says persuasion is not mind control, and that's a really hard thing to deal with, both on both sides. Like using mind control as a DM to like make your players do something because they're too rowdy, and then players forcing their thing on the story because, well, my charisma's +5 and I'm just gonna roll. I'm just gonna do it. And that's like, I've brought this up on 3 Black Halflings because they're all actors over there and writers and creatives, and they're like, but I'm an actor and stories are stories are magic. And I'm like, you guys can play pretend whatever you want. You're an actor in your real life. You don't have to be an actor in your pretend life as well. It's fine. Just learn to play the lute. You can get famous on TikTok. You don't have to do it in your pretend life as well. I think it's just like it's touching something that we're trying to break out of as people playing pretend.
I'd like to use my reaction to say that I fully agree with everything you said. My character in this podcast is a bard. And for all of the reasons exactly, like I am not that person in my and I'm not that person in my usual life. Maury is a non-binary, literally faceless plasmoid.
Hell yeah.
That is ace. So all of the things that are like the things that you characterize as stereotypical bard, very much the opposite of it. It's been fun to do kind of like the things that happen and then the successes that happen because of the bard abilities, and having to have Turner explain it as in they're just so like caught off guard by what you did that it's fine.
No, 1,000%. And Dungeons and Dragons, I think also making weird characters is the most control that players have, which I think is a kind of a big flaw of the game at large. It's like having a character who breaks the game and then having one that's directly opposite to the traditions of the class. 1,000%. And that's also why people do play bards, because again, inspiration is incredible. And like some of those subclasses are really, really interesting. I'm just saying more about like, when we think about people sitting down and writing the bard, especially bringing the bard into 5th edition, and in the future, now that 5th edition is perpetual ? And it's our favorite game is a game of service. I guess it's Destiny.
Oh, it's game of service, 100%. It's Destiny.
So it's just like that's what makes it complicated, and disproving the rule as a player, I think, is inherent to all of the classes. But I 100% agree with you.
Cool. All right, we're gonna do we're at the back end of the hour, gang. So we're gonna do a quick lightning round while I scroll up and down the chat to see if there's any questions that are worth asking, or if they failed us once again. No, I'm kidding, gang. So Jess, you go.
Has anything been determined on Tell Me About It to be less interesting than oh my god.
The movie musical Grease and Grease 2 and Rise of the Pink Ladies. Yeah.
Yes. Has anything been determined to be less interesting than that? No?
Inherently all of them are. Every single thing that comes on the episode are. We have a big high score system, so I keep track of all of the points that Adel puts together throughout the game. And it's always just like, it's just fun. I mean, it's like putting a game show context around a talk about your favorite things episode. Talking about favorite things episode has just been really fun, and I love the game. Inherently my job at Multitude is making up games, like as I prep any of the shows, and also as I produce a sports show and come up with games that we do together and meetings and everything. It's just a lot of fun and just like an excuse to try to get at someone trying to prove argumentally, like combatively, to someone
Right.
else who is being a real billionaire. And teaching this like this is that game where you shoot humans, the most dangerous game. Like, it's just a lot of fun heightening that experience. So all of them are less interesting than Grease.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear then. You heard it here first, everybody. According to Tell Me All About It, the movie musical Grease, peak fiction, period.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that pretty much checks out.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite kind or favorite manga series?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm like really trying to get myself slowly into this. I started listening to this podcast called Anime Sickos, which is really fun. They don't really talk about anime all that much. It was more just like the weirdness of being like alive in the 21st century. It's a really fun podcast. So, and they were like, oh, I should just get more. I listened to that show. I've been really into One Piece, obviously, and I started watching a bunch of other anime. But so I don't actually have a lot of manga. I just decided to buy the whole set of Delicious in Dungeon, and it's been fun. Just like, I love comics too, but it's another thing that I feel like I'm just kind of like I love the existence of it, but I gotta I gotta walk into it more. I also feel that way about wrestling. Like, I think wrestling is absolutely fascinating, but I've only sat down and watched a little bit. I watched a lot of clips, and my TikTok feed is like all of these wrestling documentaries cut into like 25 pieces. But again, it's just like a thing I'm really interested in. I just love the whole thing about it.
All right, Anthony.
I noticed that Multitude has done a live event or a conference in the past. Is that something y'all plan on doing in the future? Like, we've been talking about going to more cons and things like that. So I was just wondering if that's something that's on the plate.
Yeah, we're trying to tour. The conference was like a digital like learning conference. Well, we were like, it was supposed to be like a what do you call it? It's not a con. It's like, what do you when you all come together and you all are insurance salesmen and you're talking about how the insurance is
Trade show,
Like a trade show? Yeah.
or like like an
Expo.
industry thing, not like maybe closer to a trade show, something like and you could do like speeches and presentations to each other. I think it's more of a conference than anything. So that was supposed to be like learnings and stuff, like by podcasters for podcasters about podcasting, not about public radio or not about this media, not a media stuff. It was something else. So that was kind of like with our teaching and learning and classes and stuff that we do. But yeah, we've been thinking about touring a lot more now. It feels a little bit more safe. I am not ready to go to Gen Con. I feel like a lot of people are going to get sick, and I'm really worried about their sickness boundaries, which they've really pulled back on. So I hope everyone comes out of that healthy. But we're really excited to do live shows. I love doing podcast live shows. It's such like an interesting beast that is really fun to it's super fun to navigate. Like, you want to create something that's interesting visually, but is attached to your podcast. But also, if you rip the audio and put it on your RSS feed, it's still going to be interesting. Like, there's a lot of stuff. We're planning a live show for The Distraction soon, which I'm super excited about. And we're also planning. I'm trying to go to the UK and do a Games and Feelings live show in Manchester with Jasper, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Sweet.
We haven't announced any of that stuff, and we're locking in the dates. But like, I miss doing live stuff. I used to do slam poetry. Actually, that was the main thing that I did in college. I started the NYU slam team. We were college like champions like 2-3 years when I was there out of like 5. It was really, really fun. And I really miss doing live. And I was like a theater kid in high school, so I miss doing live performance.
I used to go to Austin Slam Poetry Night every Tuesday night and watch and have like half written poems. I was like, maybe one day I could get it, and then instead I just started playing D&D.
No, it's such similar DNA. Also, like, Austin has had a really interesting slam poetry scene as well. I remember some people came out of there. But yeah, it was wild. And also, that was the first time that I saw like working artists. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, if I was in a band and I'm gonna tour, blah blah blah. It's like the romance, like that's a dream we all have in our head. But seeing poets like tour and actually make money and do that as a living, I was like, oh, you can make art and still make money. I know it's have a living. You know, it was always just like super, super interesting. And it's kind of like what maybe it got stuff in my head and as this life we're building for ourselves digitally. Listen, I could talk about this whole thing about actual play and like why and how it's like the LAification of the space and why we're deciding to hew to traditional spaces, media spaces that require location and money and names as this form of people just making stuff up and recording it. I don't really understand it, especially like the fact that it's all this like rules light long form improv D&D. It's vaguely, it has no real character mechanic, no real mechanics to it. It's not crunchy at all. That's more important about the names you have, and it's the same like 20 people all playing it. I just don't understand, and I'm not sure why the art form is being pulled in that way when we have so many new tabletop RPGs we could be playing. And like something that makes sense for it's crunchy but also makes sense for performance.
Well, look, and that's why I have been aggressively trying to start an East Coast West Coast TTRPG actual feud, so that eventually that will work itself out.
I'm starting it. I feel like it's New York,
because look, man, as third coasters down south, we got, you know, we're building up the southern alliance, so when the East Coast West Coast feud dies down, we can just rise up, much like the Houston rap scene.
I exactly like that. You guys will have like a giant. You could have a giant warehouse, like Dude Perfect, to like just play tabletop RPGs in. Y'all have enough space.
Oh, good lord, yeah, absolutely, we do. So,
I did not think I'd make a Dude Perfect reference on here, but here we are.
It's all good. We got Shrimp and Chris in the back pocket. Let's get it going.
We could have like so many shelves for our knickknacks and minis and things and maps, and we could have snacks, and I love an event.
That'd be sick.
Oh, we'll have all the breakfast tacos.
That would honestly, that would be tight as hell. I keep thinking about like, you know, like schools of poets or schools of like painters, where it's like the New York school or like the Pennsylvania Impressionists. Like I always wanted there to be like an actual play New York school, and I think it's like we're crunchy. We play crunchy games. We make gameplay dictates story. The dice rolls matter. Gameplay makes sense, but it's also really well edited. It's not, and we're like, we create like groundswell following. Like you don't have to be a name to start it. I think that's always something I wanted to start with, like the New York school of actual play.
Cool. Have you talked to Emily Friedman in that respect? Have you tagged in with
Dr. a little Friedman bit online? I mean, she's really into like, she's too busy. She's writing down like all of the credits ever on Dimension 20, which I'm glad that she is, but I would I see her on the internet sometimes.
She is would be a great conversation for you to tag in with. And she is super engaging when it comes to, not, I mean, she's very, very clearly a critter, right? Like, but it is very well dedicated to the overall study of the actual play space. And I know London, is it London Carlisle that we've worked with in the past, guys, that from the Spots Hidden that we did the fight night with.
Oh yeah,
he's New York. He's in the New York
TTRPG
scene. So she's got ties up that way as well. But Tori, close this out.
Eric, I would like, in as much detail as you would like how as much lore as you feel like, I'd like for you to describe to us your magical girl persona. Like where your magic came from, like how old were you when you discovered it? What'd you like?
Drop.
Is it like a stone? Was it like a little animal? Like what's the vibe? What was that innate magic that was awakened in you? And how did your transformation go?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think here's what happened. I was exploring the ruins of the old synagogue in Prague, which is where I heard that there was a magical item, and that's where the Golem of Prague was. Oh no, did something just happen?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, my whole monitor just stopped, so I'm just gonna keep going. Just stop working, so I'll just keep going. And the Golem of Prague was sitting, and inside of the Golem of Prague was a magical stone, so that I can, whenever I clap my hands 3 times, I turn into a giant golem. I turn in Golem, a clay protector, and I go where everyone needs me. But if I get too hungry, then and all of the clay falls apart. So I need to make sure that I eat properly before it all happens. I think it's extensive. I think it takes 20 minutes for my magical girl process to finally finish, because it's a lot of
I'll be right with you. Just 1 minute. I'll be right there.
Yeah, because a lot of rabbi's assistants need to get mud from a river to put it on my body. So it actually takes a really long time.
I got the sinuses are killing me. The scroll in the mouth right now. Hold on, just a minute.
Yeah, and then of course I'm like 10 feet tall, and I have big like real The Thing, Ben Grimm vibes, and it's really fun. And also, yeah, and then I have like words carved into the clay on my body, Superman style, and I think that's it. I think I would like that.
Good answer, man. So now let's but to really close it out, what is one? Now you've asked questions of the cast, but that's okay. One final question for the cast that they are compelled to answer, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, I think that's good. All right, here's an interesting question. If you were applying to Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Children, what is the superpower that you think that you would have, but stands out enough that they would actually accept you to this prestigious private school? So you can't just have basic powers because they just have
you don't have to be on the team.
No. You just got to be in the school. You are like 16 and you're applying, right? So remember, you got to it's a prestigious private school, so you can't just have the regular powers. What is one that feels good to you, but also you think that would be interesting and like stand out enough for them to want to develop what you have going on? For example, mine would still be the Golem magical girl thing.
Anthony, you got to go first.
Wait, because we do it in reverse order?
We do it in reverse order, yeah. Well, and we do it in reverse cast age order. And you can't pick being a cis white male. That's my thing. So
now they already have a bunch of those.
Yeah, which is how you get into any school. We know,
Scott
right?
Summers,
Yeah.
Cyclops.
Isn't that Morph's power? He doesn't actually look like that. Morph's a black guy. I don't. Dang it! I'm terrible at these. I
know. That's why we make you go first every time, because it's delightful.
Is it?
Let me refine. I can also refine this question a little bit more. What is the superpower you wish you would have that's a little bit less? That's like not just the traditional regular ones. Like, what's the unique spin on it, or like, what's your more specific superpower that you would want?
Like just a specific thing where it's like that's what you do.
No, it has to be helpful. It has to be interesting. You got to be at least like beta level on the superhero scale.
Jazz, you got the beta level thing down.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
It's
Rude.
A little bit, but it's our energy. What do you want to do?
That is what we do here.
I don't know. I think I would want something mental wise, but like I don't want to read people's thoughts. Like I don't, and not in any kind of like, I don't know, maybe like some kind of like element manipulation, but like only like the first half of the periodic table or something.
I mean, that's pretty unique, specifically into small. You can only move small molecules.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also like your My Hero Academia power to be a little bit more specific. Like you're doing something more specific, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Jazzington.
I want. I would say time travel, but like limited jumps to the past. So like I'd only be able to go back like a week at best.
That's
right?
cool.
Yeah. So like and I've only got a limited amount of time that I can spend in the past. So I've got like 30 minutes to jump back like a week and then make something change. But that's it.
I like that. That's very comic booky of you to be like, no. There's no time paradoxes with this guy. He can move through time and it's fine. It's because of the tachyons. His tachyons are good. That's why he can move through space.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's great.
Tori?
tachyon particles?
I always was intrigued by probably as a kid growing up with undiagnosed narcolepsy, and now as an adult with the diagnosed version and having a bit of a control over that. I've always just been really hyper aware of sleep wake states and
Sure.
lines, thin veils between reality and kind of like dream walking stuff is cool.
Liminal
Like,
spaces. Let's fucking go. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just the analysis that can come from seeing other people's dreams or projecting stuff from your dreams or just kind of messing around with that stuff. Like, I keep trying to think. I'm immediate. It's talking about it at first sounds really like cool and ethereal, but all of my immediate references are one as a child when the very first thing I drew and wanted to invent was a helmet that could project someone's images, and then the second thing is that SpongeBob episode where they're jumping through the dreams.
Yeah.
Like, these are the things I'm immediately thinking of.
No, dream. That's a legit one. People they would want you just to help refine your powers. Your dream walking. Absolutely.
Yeah. Inception-y type stuff. I think that stuff's cool.
It's so your superpower is fanfic between Tom Hardy and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
You got to dream bigger, darling. You got to dream bigger. Yeah, I would probably go with limited reality manipulation, and this is totally based on something that's coming up in the show where but you can only you can alter things, but only by one letter. So instead of Cyclops' force beams, they would be Cyclops' horse beams, like things of that nature.
Oh,
like
you would be a real life Ringer the Grammarian. Yeah.
Yeah, just a single letter substitution.
That's a good
one. For reality manipulation, in inconsequential and dumb ways. So
real 1980s comics energy where they're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
he could change letters and it's really dangerous.
They were just born that way. Come on,
we bring you back for season 3 of Teen Titans. It's gonna be really, really absurd.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh man, there is no better deep dive than weird DC C and D tier. I am a huge fan of D to C tier superheroes, like from the Marvel back catalog and the DC Comics back catalog, which is why Starman, Robinson's run on Starman, which is one of the most 90s comics that ever 90s, is so good because it pulls in it's got the red bee in it, man. It's got the red fucking bee, which was a a Golden Age hero who fought with trained bees. Not a bunch of trained bees.
That's tight.
Just a couple of trained bees.
Just a few.
Just a few. Just a few.
That's incredible.
So,
to tell you,
to train bees.
and you can only have 7 because they're named after the days of the week. So like, why would you have more than that? I actually based one of our NPCs, this pirate queen, who is this spider pirate queen, off of I don't know if you remember Fang from Teen Titans, who was just like this girl's boyfriend, who's like human body hanging down and then spider rest of it, like big spider, like head is spider and then like big legs going down to the floor. And I'm just like, what an incredible character design. And we see you for 2.5 episodes of Teen Titans.
That thing always bothered me because I didn't understand how, like, the skeletal, like, there's just a lot of dead weight on the body that's hanging beneath the head, and I was like, that you jumped the wrong way. It's not good for the rest of that body. I don't like it.
It's got really big tick energy, like really big tick energy.
Yeah. I also like that he just has a gun. Like he doesn't actually have superpowers. He's just a guy, and then he just shoots at Robin. It's like great, incredible.
Really big ticket. And what was it that we stumbled onto the other day that was a weird? He wrote an episode of Supernatural. That's what it was that we stumbled ass backwards into. Because we also do a Supernatural / homebrew recap podcast.
Hell yeah.
Where we watch an episode, because Jazz had never watched Supernatural. We watch an episode of Supernatural, then homebrew some D&D shit off of it, because
that's fun.
We originally conceived, it's like, oh, it'll be a great monster of the week thing. Not as many monsters as you would think. It's like, oh, it's another ghost. Fuck, we really should have done some more research before we launched this show.
I gotta say, that's on Supernatural. That's not on you guys.
It is. It is very much on Supernatural, but
Yeah,
but
it's on
it actually
Supernatural.
makes it a little bit more fun to come up with the homebrew piece of it because we ended up instead of just always futzing around with monsters, coming up with one shots, magical items, and the show really has evolved into how many weird internet wormholes can Turner go down because of the show is this episode is loosely based in the city where the giant green. Jolly Green Giant statue is located.
Oh
Um,
yeah. No,
which
I
is
know what you're talking about.
which is not where the Jolly Green Giant canning plant started. That's 60 miles down the road. This is just where they randomly built that statue and then hosted a radio show underneath it. So, well, I will tell you whether or not I agree with you that you are the best DM in podcasting. You absolutely have been one of the best guests we ever had. If just for leading off with hey, we did a campaign based off Gravity Falls, which in my heart of hearts is one of the best shows ever created.
Oh, I love. Oh wait, yeah, I got Waddles is right here.
Wow.
I dressed up as Dipper one Halloween because my daughter dressed up as Mabel, and I went, there's no way that anybody's going to get that costume solo. So I've got to come to the rescue, and I have to dress up as Dipper now and go trick or treating with you, just so I can stand in the background and be like, yeah, it's Gravity Falls. Yeah, it's Gravity Falls. So that's what being a parent is all about, folks. Finding ways to leverage your children's interests into getting what you want.
Is being a parent deciding no, I'm going to be Dipper and not Grunkle Stan and not having your child push back on you?
No, real life is realizing that you're Grunkle Stan.
right.
Being a parent is having little people that love you enough not to tell you otherwise.
And real life is like I'm Seuss and I'm fine with it.
Unfortunately, oh god, I'm totally blanking on the hillbilly's name. Unfortunately, real life is more like
McGucket.
McGucket. Yeah.
Can I tell you something about Gravity Falls?
Tragic fucking story. Jesus,
I've been thinking about this a lot. I had this voice block about like character voices a lot, and like I've been thinking about this. I started watching Bill Hader like fan edits because he got really even more popular with Barry.
Yeah.
And, fans have really started congregating around him. So I've been watching a lot of interviews with him and just seeing him do impressions of like his favorite guys from like Turtle Classic Movies and from Dateline has kind of just like opened up like, oh, I can just do impressions of characters I like and just make them take their voices and just put them on characters. And I think it's like this, it's almost like we're gatekeeping voices from ourselves because we're not voice actors. And again, that might be the LAification of stuff that it's like only professionals are allowed to do good voices. Right. So it's like Gravity Falls has so many good voices.
Oh god,
yeah. Steal them and use them. And you probably do a 80% good impression of McGucket or of Grunkle Stan or of Seuss. And you can just do it. Like everybody has a voice like this. I can't believe it. Chicka chicka. You just do it. And it's fine.
Look, we had Ron Ogden on. That was his advice for people doing character voices. Like, look, everybody does impersonations. Exactly. And the worse they are, the more unique a character voice you just came up with. So he's like, that's where 100% of my character voices start off. I was trying to do Strange Brew and it turned into the drunken sled dogs that we were doing.
Yeah.
Like that is
there's no Italy in this fantasy world. So you can't tell me my accent's bad because that's not an Italian accent. Something else.
Yeah.
It's just like having, in the fantasy, it's like, don't give all of your elves English accents. If you can't do it, who cares?
Yeah.
So who cares? I'm with you.
Our especially our character who tried to do an elf with an English accent, he didn't make it out of the intro before he abandoned it. So
respect.
So on that note, gang, we're gonna wrap this one up. Thank you so much for the time, Eric. You were again a fantastic guest. We absolutely appreciate it. It warms our heart for somebody to come in and be as frenetic as Tori, and to summon her from the depths mid murder to stick a pin allegedly.
Wait, what does Tori have in her hand? Oh no, the trumpet!
Make exit video go now because I got to remember we've got an outro video now because I actually did an outro video. So.